Hello and welcome to Connect, the weekly podcast of the California MBA, featuring one-on-one interviews with movers and shakers in the mortgage industry. I'm Susan Milazzo, CEO of the California MBA, and I'm very happy that you can join us today. Before I get to today's guest, I'd like to thank our 2023 President's Council sponsors. Now, these are companies that have provided an incredible amount of financial support for the California MBA, in large part to help support our advocacy efforts. We are the voice of the real estate finance industry before the California State Legislature and our regulators. Advocacy is, of course, the cornerstone of what we do at the California MBA, and we're very grateful for our President's Council sponsors to help us achieve that mission. So our 2023 President's Council sponsors are AmeriHome, Arch MI, Consolidated Analytics, Funding Shield, Incelerate, Guild Mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, and Western Alliance Bank. Thank you all so much for your support this year. And with that brings me to today's guest. I'm very happy to be welcoming Keith Murray, CEO of PCV Murcor. Keith, welcome.
Thank you very much, Susan. Thanks for having me.
I was glad that I've been working with your staff to get this scheduled, so I'm happy that it finally worked out. Always like to get started with the stories about how people got into this business and, of course, starting your company. So why don't you tell us how it all began?
Well, it began in 1981. So interestingly enough, I've only had really one job prior to my current job at PCV and our affiliated companies, and that was when I was in high school. And I got an opportunity to work at a small savings and loan, or it was then a large savings and loan here in Los Angeles, facilitated by my grandmother. My grandmother worked for the family, and my dad said, it's time for you to get a job. And so I asked Granny if she would give me an interview. And next thing you know, I was with the head of HR for what was then called Home Savings and Loan. And so at probably 15 years of age, I was working in the mailroom and sort of progressed my way up from mailroom to bank teller to new accounts counselor. And then I saw this thing that caught my interest, which was appraisal. And there were gentlemen and ladies that were coming in and out of the branch, going off making inspections. And so I made an inquiry and got an opportunity to be trained as a real estate appraiser at Home Saving. And so shortly after that, it was probably 1981, that I actually began what was then called Pacific Coast Valuations. This was all pre-licensing of appraisers. And we performed appraisals on 1 to 4 family properties here in Southern California, and continued to do that. Late 80s happened. We had a real estate crisis, and we started working with many of the GSEs and government agencies, and had an opportunity once things started to build themselves in California to do work outside of California. And that was sort of what gave birth to PCV Murcor, because initially we were Pacific Coast Valuation. And so today we work, we are PCV Murcor. We provide valuations, facilitation services, appraisal management services in all 50 states and the territories.
Wow.
And we just last year celebrated our 40th year in business.
That's incredible. And congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. I have to say, when your company joined, I'm like, PCV Murcor, like, that's a very memorable name. I mean, it's not like you're confusing it with anything else. I actually had to go to your website to understand where it came from. So Pacific Coast Valuations and then Murcor. Got it.
Yeah, and if I'd have been smarter, I would have called it PVC, because that's frequently when I miss an email. That's where it goes.
Yeah, you probably have to have both of those. I love stories about great entrepreneurs like you. Hearing how somebody, started out at a savings loan, learned the business, got interested in appraisals, and now, all 50 states you're doing appraisals. What advice would you give a young entrepreneur today?
Have a clear vision of what you want to do, and really have that crystallized in your mind. Making sure that you work with really good people, ideally people that are smarter than you. Having a mentor is really important. I think, and when I was coming up, and just with not the technology that facilitated the Zoom meetings and opportunities to connect with people, it was a little harder to get a mentor. But what I did do was really model people that I respected in the industry, and asked a lot of questions. And so as I sort of reflect back on all of our time and the different scenarios we've been in, certainly we're in a challenging environment now, but it's to be nimble, and particularly with regard to technology, because that really is what is causing making us able to compete in the environment that we're in now. And then I think the last thing is just to learn from your mistakes, because we generally as entrepreneurs make lots of them, and the goal would be not to make the same one twice, but to learn from your mistake.
I love, getting a good mentor. I think that's great advice for anybody, for sure. You'd mentioned 2023, very challenging market. What are your clients sharing with you about how they're navigating a market like this?
So what we're finding with most of our clients is that they really become a lot leaner, as we've seen in the industry. They're spending a lot more of their resources on technology to make sure that they have the capacity to handle an influx in work if and when we see it in either the later part of this year or going into next year. And for the most part, they're trying to figure out ways, as we are, to just better connect with their customers and get more embedded with them and understand them better, to make sure that their products and services really meet their needs.
Yeah, that's, they say, definitely a year where everybody is lean, that's for sure. A few years ago, I started a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee for the California MBA, which I'm very proud has been very successful. And PCV Murcor is our 2023 DE&I Committee sponsor. So thank you so much for that. Really appreciate that. Can you share with our listeners why that was important to you?
It's DE&I is something that's been important since I began my career. There's a great need of it in financial services and in mortgage banking, and I'm really proud of the fact that at PCV 70% of our team are ethnically diverse or women, and so it's something that we've fostered really from the beginning. And I think the same is true when we look at our vendor partnerships. I mean, 30% of the appraisers that we engage with are ethnically diverse or women, and so it's something that aligns really with our values. And as we do more work here in California, it seemed like a perfect opportunity when the team presented me with the opportunities to support CMBA and the diversity program.
Well, we're very grateful for it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, PCV Murcor has its own charity, Seeds of Hope. Do you want to share with our listeners a little bit about that nonprofit?
Yeah, it was founded in 2011. It's really a collaboration of not only the PCV team, but our affiliated company, VRM Mortgage Services, which is out of Dallas, Texas. And the mission of it has been to stabilize communities through the support of grassroots organizations that focus on children, family, and veterans. And what really excites me about it is that the board is really consists of employees from both those entities, and it really reflects, I think, the heart of giving that our employees have, because on a quarterly basis, the teams get together, they vet organizations that are consistent with our mission, and then they come through with recommendations on companies that or organizations that we fund, or that we support either financially or through volunteerism with our team members.
That is so great. I applaud any company that has its own foundation. I know several of our members do, and so congratulations to you. It sounds like a wonderful cause.
Yeah, it is, and it's one of the things I'm most proud of.
So the company joined the California MBA last year. Always very grateful for support through membership. Can you share with our listeners why you chose to join the California MBA?
Really, it's what your mission is: advocacy, education, and connection, and particularly education. We think that's really important as it relates to not only within our organization, but outside. And so the fact that you're advocating on behalf of the industry in Sacramento, but that you're offering educational programs that allow organizations to improve themselves, and also to have within the organization individual team members be able to elevate their careers, we think is important. And then lastly, obviously the connection. We were just talking just a minute ago about conferences and opportunities to connect. So it just made perfect sense for us.
Wonderful. Well, again, thank you for your support through membership, support for our DE&I committee. We're very grateful to have PCV Murcor in the California MBA.
Yeah, we are as well. Thank you very much.
And Keith, thank you for being a part of Connect. Great conversation with you. Love to learn a little bit more about your company. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. To access any of our past episodes, you can follow us on our YouTube channel. We're also available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. That's it for this week, and we'll see you next time on Connect.